Alright guys, so this video we're going to be combining all the stuff we've done with Unit 8 all together. So the exponent rules, adding and subtracting polynomials, multiplying, because the biggest issue that I see is that you're not quite sure when to do what. Alright, so let's talk about it. What have we done so far? So what have we done? Okay, first thing we have done is exponent rules. So I don't want you to lose those. Exponent rules. Okay? And let me just double check to make sure that it's in the same order. Okay, the second thing we've done is we've added and subtracted polynomials. Don't let that poly word freak you out. Poly just means many. Added and subtracted that. The third thing we've done, and this is going to be kind of the weird one that's kind of hard to write, is we've multiplied a monomial. That might not make sense to you. Monomial. But we've done it. I'll show you. It'll make sense. And then the last thing we've done is we've used FOIL or box method to multiply binomials. Okay? So we've done these four things. And the problem is that you're kind of confusing them with each other. Okay? Alright. So, exponent rules. Main thing you need to remember is Pac-Man DS. So you've talked about this, right? So if you have an exponent on top of parenthesis, you multiply. When you're multiplying, you add. And when you add, you do nothing. And then when you divide, you subtract. Okay, little helpful hint with your exponent rules, okay? And we're going to do 3 quick examples, okay? So pause, write it down. 3x squared. And you've seen these on warm-ups and stuff. 3x to the third, all that squared. So remember, you treat the big numbers like normal. So what is 3 squared? So 3 squared, 3 times 3 is 9. So you put a 9 here. And then you multiply your exponents. 2 times 3 is 6. So x, 6. Done. Okay? Pause, write it down. Alright, remember, when you're dividing, you subtract your exponents. But you have to treat the big numbers like normal. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And then let's subtract our exponents. And if there is no exponent, the exponent is 1. So 5 minus 1 would be a 4. And then 2 minus 1 would be 1. So you could put b with a 1 on top or just leave it alone, because if it doesn't have an exponent, it's just 1. So that's good. Okay? Alright, this example right here, pause, write it down. This dot means we multiply. And remember, when we multiply, we add our exponents. We're going to treat the big numbers like normal. We're going to multiply them. 4 times 3 is 12. And then we're going to add our exponents. There's no exponent here, so I'm going to put a 1, and I'm also going to put a 1. Let me add my a's first. So 2 plus 1 is 3. And then I'll put my b. 1 plus 3 is 4. Okay? Exponent rules. Alright? You got it. Make it happen. Second thing that we talked about is adding and subtracting polynomials. So pause and write down this first example of adding. And these are squareds, by the way. Pause and write it down. Remember, when you're adding, it has a plus sign in the middle. All you have to do is combine the like terms. So here's a squared. Where is there another squared? Is right here. And then we add them. So 3 plus 2 is 5. And then I just rewrite x squared. I do nothing to the exponent. Here's an x, and here's an x. And there's no number there, so we can put a 1. So 2 plus 1 is 3, and it's positive, so positive 3x. Okay? And then I have my constants, 1 minus 3. So 1 minus 3, if you did it in your head or in the calculator, it would be a negative 2. And that's it. Easy peasy. But the problem is that some of y'all are trying to do like FOIL and box method on this stuff. Like, no. If it's adding, you just add the like terms together. Now let's do subtracting. Real quick, these are 3's, and that's a 2, 3, and a 2. Pause and write it down. Okay, when we're subtracting, we have to do the extra step in which we have to distribute that negative. Now, each of your algebra teachers are having you do it a little differently. Some of your teachers are having you put a -1 here and multiplying it, and some of them are just having you change the sign. Either way, it's the same process. We're going to rewrite the first part. So 4a3 plus 2a squared minus 4a. And then we distribute. Negative 1 times 2 would be a negative 2, a to the third. Negative 1 times a positive 3 would be negative 3a squared. And negative 1 times a negative 4 is a positive 4a. So you just change the signs. So it was a positive, now it's a negative. It was a positive, now it's a negative. It was a negative, now it's a positive. Okay? And then we just combine like terms. Here's a3, and here's a3. So 4 minus 2 is 2a3. Okay? Then I have 2a squared and minus 3a squared. So in your head or in the calculator, 2 minus 3 is negative 1a squared. And then I combine my a's. Negative 4 plus 4. But negative 4 plus 4 in your calculator is just 0. So don't put plus 0a, it just goes away. It's 0, and then this is your answer. Okay? So make sure you keep adding and subtracting separate in your head, and be very, very careful. This subtracting stuff is what they always put on star, and it's what you guys always miss because you mess up that negative distribution there. Okay, this is the one that you might have forgotten about, but it's actually pretty simple. Multiplying with a monomial. Okay, write down. Multiplying with a monomial, and then write down this example. Example 1. That's a squared, by the way, and that's a squared. Okay? So, a monomial means 1. So if you have one thing here, we did this a couple weeks ago, all you do is you just distribute it. You multiply your big numbers, your coefficients, and then you add up your exponents. So all we do is 3 times 2 is 6, and then 2 plus 2 is x to the 4. 3 times 3 is positive 9, and then 2 plus, there's no exponent here, so it's 1. So 2 plus 1 is 3. And then 3 times 1 is a positive 3. And this is what a lot of kids forgot. 2 plus nothing is still 2. And that's your answer. Okay? Sometimes I ask you for area of that, but I've done area with binomials too. So pause and write this down. Example 2. Area of this. Okay? So area is length times width. So how you write that would be 4a, parenthesis, 3a minus 12. Good. And then we distribute. So 4 times 3 is 12. And then there is no exponent, so it's like 1s. You can even put 1s here if you wanted to. 1 plus 1 would be a2. 4 times negative 12 in your head or in the calculator is minus 48. And then 1 plus nothing is still just 1. You could put a with a 1 on it or just an a. That's beautiful. Done. Okay, a lot of kids confuse this with box method or FOIL. It's different though because there's only one thing. So let me show you real quick. Here I have two things on, like in the parentheses. Here there's just one thing on the outside. So that's the difference between the two. Okay? Last would be multiplying binomials. Okay? And I know you feel like you guys got this. I'll do FOIL on the top and then box on the bottom, but if you're a box person, whatever, just do the way you do it. Go ahead and write multiplying binomials and pause and write this down. Here, excuse me, here are some things I'm still seeing wrong, so be careful. There's no number here, so go ahead and put a 1. Yet again, I'm going to do FOIL on this first one. So, some of y'all are still adding this, but remember you're multiplying. 3 times 1 is 3, and then there's 2 x's, so x squared. I'm still seeing not the squared there like I should. Okay? 3 times negative 4. That's a negative 4. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12, and then x. Okay? Then we multiply everything by a positive 1. 1 times 1 is a positive 1x. And then 1 times negative 4 is a negative 4. Okay? Some of y'all are still giving me this as an answer, but you need to combine your middle. When you do that, some of y'all are still multiplying, which don't do, but when you're adding, you'll do 12 plus 1. But be careful, that is a negative 12. So I rewrite my 3x squared. In your calculator, negative 12 plus 1 is negative 11x, and then you minus 4. Then you're done. Okay? Last problem, guys. Area with this. Okay, pause, write it down. Real quick, if there's only one thing on the outside, you can just distribute it and you're done. But if there's two things, like there's 1, 2, 1, 2, then you use your FOIL or your box method. So I'm going to go ahead, I did FOIL last time, so I'll do a box this time. This is x and a positive 6. This is 2x. And be very careful, a lot of y'all are messing this up. That's negative 1, so you can put minus 1 here. And because there's no number here, I'm going to put a 1. 2 times 1 is 2. And then there's 2 x's, so that's x squared. Okay? 2 times 6 is 12. And there's only one x, so the x comes there. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1 with an x. And 6 times negative 1 is negative 6. At the very end, you combine your diagonal. So I rewrite my 2x squared. And you could do this two different ways. You could do negative 1 plus 12, or you could do 12 minus 1. It doesn't matter. Either way, you will get a positive 11x. Now, some of y'all see that negative there, so you automatically put a negative here. But when you combine this, if your answer is positive, you put a plus. If your answer is a negative, you put a minus. And then I put my minus 6 on the end. Okay? That's it. We're just doing a big old combo of all the things we've already done. So be very careful on what method you use with what problem. And then if you're confused on your assignment, call me over and we'll work on it. All right. Good luck, guys, and get it together.